Hi guys, it's Sophie. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different, but something that I hope a lot of you are going to sort of enjoy and have fun with. This is my 2017 reading spreadsheet, and it's something that I tweeted about a little while ago and had some excitement around, so that's great. Now I know this isn't for everyone, and if this is just not your kind of thing, it's far too nerdy, I completely understand. So, just to get started, I record my reading using spreadsheets. And whenever I do my wrap ups, whenever I talk about this kind of thing, I get quite a few comments asking how I do it and how I get the kind of data I do. And I thought this year what I would do is when I finish making my spreadsheet for the year, I'd make it publicly available so that you guys can download it and you can use it as you will. And I thought that could be kind of fun, but I thought I'd make this video just explaining what's there, what you can do with it, and what sort of hopefully is useful for you guys, just to sort of accompany that. So we'll get started. The tab we're in at the moment is called Book Survey. Now this is essentially your kind of like home. This is where you're going to put in the books that you've read. I've got some example data in here already for you just so you can see how it works. These are the last 5 books that I read in 2016. So you can see that you have the title of the book, the author, the genre, the number of pages, the age group, so the age group the book's directed at, the star rating that I've given it, the date I started it, the date I finished it. These are mock dates just because I needed them to be 2017 dates. Publishing house, published date. Now for me that means original published date, though you could equally use that as the edition that you've read. We have a couple of bits on the author as well, so we have the gender of the author, the country that they identify as from, the continent relation to that country, the race of the author. I've spoken a little bit about this before. I take this from author pages and sort of their own feeling wherever I can, though they are very much estimations where there's no information of that kind, and whether or not the book is in translation. Now that's not something I've looked at before, but what I found was often, even if the countries were seeming to be fairly sort of widespread, I wasn't really getting an idea of whether or not I was reading them when they've been written originally in English or not. So I thought in translation would be an interesting one to track. Now the next page, I haven't put any example data in, but it'd be pretty easy to do so. And this is just the purchase page. So if we just make one up here, we could pretend that we've bought a book today, and let's pretend I bought Packing for Mars today. And the genre would be non-fiction. Again, you can kind of see how easy this is just to go through. The age, it'd be an adult book, though I guess you could read it as YA. Source, that one was actually from Waterstones. Now, if we have a look, I've got some categories, because you want to make sure that you're using the same kind of categories. We'll go over this page in a second. But I've called that one Chain Bookshop. So that's what I'm going to use in here. I'll call that one Chain Bookshop. And the cost, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I pretend it's about $8.99, that's what they normally are. Okay, so you can kind of see that just as you buy things, as you read things, you just put the data in. I tend to use Goodreads at the same time to find these kind of things out. It's useful for pages, start and finish dates if you use Goodreads the same way I do, dead easy to find. Publishing house again, dead easy, and ordinarily there's some info on the author as well. So once you have sort of comfortably started putting in purchases and surveys, what you really want to know is, like, what does it mean? Like, where's the summary? So we have this page in here, which is like a pure data sort of sheet. We'll run through it. I'm going to try and be quick with you guys. So this is something, these sort of top ones here are things that you just enter in yourself, sort of what you feel as though is suitable for you. So my Goodreads challenge for the year is 52 books, which comes out as 4 books a month. My TBR starting the year is 28 books, so that's just useful so I can see year on year what my TBR is like. These total books is the total books you'll have read in a year from your book survey, the total minus graphic novels, just because I tend to class graphic novels as slightly different to my total books, and I like to see them with and without. This little box here will give you essentially your estimated finish sort of number of books if you read at the same rate as you are doing at the moment. So a little bit like the way that Goodreads does your are you on track or are you behind, this will just give you a number. Unfortunately, because today is still the 1st of January, just the way I've written the equation means that it's essentially dividing by 0 is not going to work. It should work from tomorrow. If it doesn't for any reason, then do let me know and I'll try and take that bug away. You've got the total pages read in the year, the average pages per book, I'm also doing Read Harder 2017, so I've got my Read Harder just in here, and I'll show you that tab in a minute. Now, as you can see, I've got a few little tables in here. Now, these are all done in graphs in a minute, which I think is much easier to see, but just briefly, you can see the books read by month, pages read by month, pages read each day in any given month, and sort of average days per book, which I think is really interesting. Days per book, it tends to be good, just to see if you're reading like, a book in 4 days in 1 month and 2 days in another month. It's just kind of interesting as to see what maybe has changed that. The genre of the book that you're reading, the age group it's directed at, the star rating that you've given it, your average star rating, which again is one I find really interesting and I comment on when I look at my reading throughout the year. Page length, again, I find that really interesting, just to see if I'm tending towards shorter books, which is what I tend to do. Next section is the stuff around the author, so gender, continent, nationality, whether it's in translation, and race, as we mentioned. Publishing house, years published, again, the sort of summaries, and then some stuff on the purchase as well, so purchase genres, and the amount you've spent in each month. This is really useful for me because I do a lot of budgeting on Excel as well, so I can take these totals here, these sort of subtotals, and put them straight into my budgeting sheets, so that's really useful for me. Now I've also got books per month. So on average, this will only work for the end of the year. I haven't managed to make it a moving average yet, but how many books you bought, put an average per month, and what the average cost was per month as well. Average cost per book is one I like a lot, so finding out what it actually costs you for each book you bought, that is one that normally makes me go, oh my god. It's normally around £9 for me, I think. Now the next one is the sort of graphical interpretation of that, and you can see again we've got exactly the same thing, but just all set out for you here. Now this is normally much easier to sort of see, so if we looked at star ratings, for example, that's much easier to understand than looking at the data points for a lot of people. Now I mentioned the Read Harder Challenge. This tab here just gives you all of the challenges for the 2017 Read Harder Challenge, whether or not you fulfilled them, and I have a little thing here just to say book used because I like to summarise it for you guys. So if we said read a debut novel, and let's pretend, I don't even know that it is, but let's pretend like Homegoing is a debut novel. I put in Homegoing and I just say that yes, I have fulfilled it, so it's just a yes or no in this one here. And then you should find, when you go back to your summary page, yeah, you can see up here it now says one of your Read Harder challenges have been met and there's one less remaining for you to fulfill. I'm going to take those out just because I haven't actually obviously read that yet. But when I do sort of go around and fill this in, that's how that works. Now the last thing that I think is hopefully quite useful, I certainly think it's probably going to be what's most interesting for me, is reference tables. Sounds really geeky, but I think this should be useful for me certainly. So I've decided I want to start looking at countries by continent, because I find that whilst my countries can vary quite widely, I gather towards Europe, and I want to just keep expanding that, and also Asia as well, to be honest, and sort of just see how it goes. I like sort of looking at things. So all this is if you go into here, you have a list of all the countries that are in that continent. Just be aware that obviously these sorts of things are they do fluctuate over time, and these will not contain any countries that were in existence historically and have now been designated not to be a sort of country anymore. And obviously countries form all the time, so these are, as of the 1st of January 2017, all the countries that are recognised by the UN. So you can, if you have sort of an idea, so let's say like Cuba, like I think Cuba is in North America. If I go to the top and type in Cuba, yes, it will tell me that Cuba is definitely in North America. So that's just useful for when you are filling in your book survey, and if you want to know what continent each country's from, hopefully you can search that fairly easily. Genres is another one to try and keep it, as I mentioned, we're trying to keep those categories. In other, I've just put poetry and plays in there because I don't feel they fit easily within fiction or non-fiction. Non-fiction, just again, some standard stuff that you might use, so it's just useful for reference, so you could look at it and say, okay, personal narrative, that feels more like what I read than, say, memoir. And similarly with fiction, I've got just some kinds of labels that you might want to use. They obviously use your own, it's just to give you sort of an overview. I'm going to be using these labels this year wherever I can to try and break it down, but it's completely and utterly up to you how you do that. And then the last one is publishing houses. So I clock in my publishing houses, but something I found sort of a little bit irritating is trying to figure out whether they're not they're imprints of a larger house. So this is how I'm addressing that issue this year. So if we went to G, for example, these are, again, from the 1st of the 1st, 2017, all of the English language publishers that are in existence. Obviously companies, again, set up all the time like countries, and some of them will be merged and taken over by other people. So if there is a company that comes into existence, it probably won't be in this list. Okay, but we could see, for example, here, Greenwellow Books is an imprint of HarperCollins. So I would actually list it myself as HarperCollins because I want to see overall where those things are coming from. You will occasionally get stuff like Grove Press / Atlantic Monthly where you have like a joint venture. So basically, brackets behind with a name after is an imprint of a larger company, and a slash is where you have a joint venture between two organisations. Now, if you do want to be using these reference tables, you will need to make sure that you download the other half of this sort of pack, which is the reference data sheet, which is just all the raw data that I pulled those pivot tables from. Just because it refers, the information here refers to that sheet, but I think it's neater to have it as a separate reference sheet. So just be aware of that if you are looking to download that these tables won't work without the other. So just before we go, I just wanted to show you how to edit little bits of this for your own purposes, because I know that that's certainly something that I like to do, though this should fairly well function as a thing on its own. Okay, so obviously, very easily, if you didn't want one of these categories and you wanted another, just rename it and go down and sort of change those in there. That's no issue at all. Something that you will find is in your summary, I have tended to put in just a few examples in here as opposed to everything possible. So, for example, in author nationality, you can see I've got Australia, Canada, UK and the United States, which is what I read from the most. But if you were beady-eyed in the book survey, you'll see that actually one of the books I read was from Iran. So we need to sort of account for that, otherwise we're never going to see that there's this Iranian author in there. So all I'm going to do is just put in a new line in there, and I'm just going to add in Iran to the nationality. Now you should literally be able to just highlight the cells above and just drag down to get the same formulas that are in there already. I've tried to sort of make it fairly easy to copy. You will just need to make sure that your totals encompass all of the numbers in that new list, because otherwise I can't program it to do it, else it'll be a circular reference. So if you do that, you can see it's 5, 5, 5, 5 total. There should be a total on nearly everything, I think, just so you can check that they all add up and right when you finish adding any books in for any one session. And again, so if we play around in here for a minute, publishing house, we can see that it's 3, so clearly we've missed a couple out. So if I just move that one down again, and if we go in and just investigate what we've missed. So Faber and Penguin were in there already. We've got Faber and we've got Penguin. But if we go back on again, we can see that Hamish Hamilton and Right Buddy Publishing aren't. Now I'm going to copy those titles across, and I'm going to just paste them as the values. Now you want them to be exactly the same, because the way these equations here work is that they're looking for exactly the wording and spacing that you got in that other survey, so it's much easier if you can just copy them across. And again, all you need to do then is quite simply just to include the new data that you put in, make it 5. And then this sort of section in here will be correct. Now you will need to remember just to adjust your charts as well if you're adding in new categories, which I recommend doing. So we can see here in the publishing house that we've just edited, we've got Bloomsbury, Faber, Penguin, so there's Penguin, there's Faber, but we haven't picked up that new data. So we added in 2 more lines, so the second half of those values, just want to add in those extra bits that you've gone in there, and that will pick up from your first sheet. Hopefully that makes sense. All this equation here is saying look at the series in the summary sheet, so this little sheet here, from values A69 to A74 and B69 to B74. So if you go in here and you look for A69 to A74, you can see it's 69 to 74. That's where the 74s come from. It was 72 because there was nothing here, but we changed it, so we need to make sure it's a 74. Alright, so hopefully that makes sense. And we'll just do exactly the same with author nationality. So we added in Iran. We can see Iran isn't here, and obviously we're missing one here. And we just added one category in here, so we're just going to change that 52 to 53. And look, there's Iran. Okay, so hopefully that makes some kind of sense. Hopefully you have enjoyed having a bit of a look at this and seeing how this might work. I really hope that people do want to sort of play around with this and have a bit of a go on their own. I hope that this sort of functions and there aren't too many bugs sort of within it, because it is something I've made but I haven't obviously been using it yet. This is only the 1st of 2017, so I've only made it very recently. If there are any bugs or any things that you come across that really don't work, please do let me know, because I'm sure I'll be able to have a bit of a fiddle and fix stuff up. But I just thought it could be fun just to share with you guys what it is I use, and if you do want to use them, then please let me know in the comments down below, because I think it'd be really cool if people did want to use this for their own sort of purposes. If you've made it this far, congratulations for being the nerdiest people on BookTube. Congratulations. We are in a little club now, you and I, at the very end of this video. I'm very pleased by being in this club. I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video, and enjoy yourselves until then. Bye bye.